We now try to uncomment section 1 and then try to see what classes or methods we have to implement. Okay, uncomment section 1. So in Eclipse, you can say control/. Okay, for section 1, you can see that in line number 5, it does not compile because we are referring to, on the left-hand side of an assignment, a type called birthday. And birthday should be a reference type, which means it should be a known class name, but it does not compile. If you move your mouse over, it tells you that birthday cannot be resolved to be a type, which means we have not yet created this class in our project. So let's do that right away. Okay, so go back to your project here, and then you can right click on new and then class. Let's call that birthday. Okay, if you do that, you can see a birthday class is created. Now you can see that this part over here already is now compiled. However, this part is not. So let's see why not. If you move your mouse over here, it tells you that the constructor birthday int is undefined. This is because on the right hand side of an assignment, you're trying to use a new keyword, which means you're trying to create a new object. Whenever you're trying to create a new object, you have to call the correct constructor. In this case, we're saying that we're going to create a version of the constructor in the birthday class where there should be two parameters. One is for taking an input like 1, which is integer. The second parameter is going to take an input like 11, which is also an integer. So what we should do is we should really try to create the two integers inside into this constructor. So let's go back to birthday here. Let's create a constructor over here. Birthday and then integer. It seems like this one should just be, if you look at the corresponding output, it should be 1 and 11. Okay, so which means when you are trying to, let's read a little bit further. You can see we're trying to create a birthday object and then store its address into BD01. And BD01, somehow you can query about its month and you can query about its day. And then if you compare this line over here with the corresponding output, you can see the month should be 1 and the day should be 11. Okay, so that means when we are passing the argument over here, 1 should be the month and 11 should be the day. So not just that we have to pass the arguments, we have to make sure the arguments are properly stored as the values of the attributes for the birthday class. So this is what we should do. Okay, so now you can say int month and int day. However, just defining this is not enough, even though you can see that this line compiles properly. However, you can see this line does not compile because we haven't supported get month and get day. Let's do that first. Okay, so let's go back to Eclipse over here and then go to birthday class. Let's now do public integer get month, and then it's going to return something. Let's just return -1 just to get everything to compile. And public integer get day, return -1. Okay, let's go back there, and then you can see everything compiles now. However, if you try to execute this code, let's click on to execute, you will see that we only get 1 and then -1 -1, right? The reason that you got -1 -1 because we only return -1 -1 over here. However, if you go back to the PDF, that tells you what the output should be. It should be 1 and 11, which means after we set the month to be 1 and the day should to be 11, somehow these two values have been stored into the birthday objects. And when you try to call the get month on this particular context object, which is here, and it should return just 1, right? As you can see, it should be 1 over here. And if you try to call the get day method on the same object, it should return back to you 11. Okay, that's something we want to make sure. So the way to do that is by introducing attributes into the class. Okay, let's go to the class over here. So we can say private integer month, private integer and day. So for encapsulation purpose, if you have things like month and day, the attributes, you should declare them as private. And then we'll try to define the accessors like a get month and get day for the other client classes to access them. Okay, so now we want to make sure whatever parameter we pass over here are properly stored into the month and day accordingly. Okay, how do we do that? We can use this dot month is assigned to month, and this dot day is assigned to day. Okay. Okay, so now after this constructor here, that means after this line, we have properly stored 1 as BD01.month, and we have stored 11 as BD01.day. So we want to make sure these two methods return the right values. Let's go back there. Let's do that. So return this dot month, and then we say this dot day. Okay, and now if you try to execute the code again, you will see that now we have the correct output. Okay, let's now do our JUnit test and make sure we got everything set up. Okay, so now you can go to File and then New, and then JUnit test case. So now we can just call the birthday book test. Okay, we'll do one by one, and then make sure you add JUnit 4 into the path. Okay. Okay, and then we say finish. Okay, so now let me just call it test birthday. Okay, let's do that very quickly. So now you can see this test case over here is some output to the console. But as we learned about test-driven developments, you also want to automate all your test cases into JUnits. Okay, so now let's do that. Birthday BD01 is new birthday, and then 1 and 11. So what we want to ensure two things. Assert equals. So now we want BD01.get month to be 1, and we want to assert equals and then 11 to be BD01.get date. That's what we want. Okay. So now just one the convention for JUnits, the assert equals method is, so the first argument should be the expected value, and the second one should be the actual value that's produced by your program. Okay, that's why I put in this particular order. Okay, so now let's execute this JUnit test. You can see there's a green bar. Okay, so we have verified in two ways, both the console output and the JUnit test. But later on, whenever we make a change to our code, we do not have to run the console output anymore and compare with our eyes manually. We can simply just execute the JUnit tests automatically. So that's really the beauty of and convenience of JUnit tests.